So good evening, everyone. My name is Neil Spear. I'm the village president, and we're going to get this meeting off. I just want to run a few things by you. And by the way, it's good to see a full house. It's great, and I hope we're going to have a full house next week, next Tuesday. So, but we're going to have a joint informational meeting, as you see on the paper. I think most of you have a paper. We're going to open my board and the town board. And then the town is going to read their warning first. But I'm going to open my meeting, say the village trustees. Our informational meeting is open, and I think Earl is going to open yours. So just formally say where both our meetings are open.
Yes.
And then could you please rise? We'll have our pledge of allegiance to the flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, we're ready. I'm Earl Fournier, Chair of the Swanton Select Board. And now Brian Savage, the town administrator, will read the Swanton Town warning. Oh, okay, agenda reviews. Anybody need to add anything to the agenda?
No, there's enough on it.
Okay, right.
Okay, good evening, folks, and welcome to the annual informational meeting. It's my pleasure to read the warning for the town. The legal voters of the town of Swanton who are legal voters in town meeting are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Swanton Village Municipal Complex, 1st and Elm Street, Swanton, on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024, at 7 a.m. to vote on the articles therein set forth. All articles are to be voted by the Australian ballot system. The polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Article 1, to elect from the legal voters of said town the following officers. Moderator for the town for a term of 1 year. One select person for a 3-year term, one select person for a 2-year term, one select person for a 1-year unexpired term, one lister for a 3-year term, one lister for a 1-year unexpired term, one auditor for a 3-year term, one trustee of public money for a 3-year term, one library trustee for a 5-year term, one cemetery commissioner for a 5-year term, one cemetery commissioner for a 4-year unexpired term, and one collector of delinquent taxes. Article 2, shall the town appropriate $1,285,363.02 for the operation and maintenance of the town highway department. Article 3, shall the town appropriate $296,216 for fire protection. Article 4, shall the town appropriate $475,057 to provide police protection to the residents of the town of Swanton. Article 5, shall the town appropriate $814,927.61 for the town general expenses. Article 6, shall the town appropriate $212,502.88 toward the maintenance and employee benefits of the Swanton Public Library. Article 7, shall the town appropriate $70,900 toward the operating budget of the Swanton Public Library. Article 8, shall the town collect its real and personal property taxes to defray the expenses of the town for the fiscal year commencing January 1, 2024, and annually thereafter by its actual receipt of payment. Postmarks will not be accepted at the town offices by 5 p.m. on October 15th, or if the 15th shall fall on a weekend or holiday, the following business day by 5 p.m., with an 8% penalty, 1% interest per month or portion thereof due thereon for the first 3 months, and 1.5% per month or portion thereon thereafter to be charged for the late payment of any installment. Article 9, shall the town appropriate $229,761 to provide rescue services to the residents of the town of Swanton. Article 10, shall the town appropriate $149,562.97 to the operation and maintenance budget of the Recreation Department. Article 11, shall the town establish the capital reserve fund in the amount of $25,000 annually for the construction and maintenance of town-owned assets. The legal voters of the town of Swanton are further notified that an informational meeting will be held at the Swanton Village Municipal Complex at 120 First Street, Swanton, Vermont, on Monday, February 26, 2024, at 7 p.m. in person and via Teams for the purpose of explaining the budget items to the voters. Anyone desiring to participate and listen in to the meeting, join on your computer, mobile app, or room device with Teams. Then it's the meeting ID number and the passcode is given for the Teams meeting. Dated at Swanton, Vermont, this 22nd day of January 2024, signed by Earl Fournier, Chair, Stephen Bourgeois, Joel A. Clark, Nicole Draper, and Cody Hemingway. And it was dated and filed the 22nd day of January 2024 at Tess Kathy L. Fournier, Town Clerk.
Okay, thank you, Brian. And now I will read the Swanton Village annual warning. The legal voters of the Village of Swanton are hereby warned and notified to meet at the Swanton Village Complex, 120 First Street, Swanton, Vermont, on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024 at 7 a.m. to vote on the articles set forth. All articles are to be voted by Australian ballot. The polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Article number 1, to elect from the legal voters of said village the following officers: President for a 1-year term, Trustee for a 3-year term, Clerk for a 1-year term, and Collector of delinquent taxes for a 1-year term. Article 2, shall the voters of the Village of Swanton appropriate $173,825 for the operation and maintenance of the general fund for 2024. Article number 3, shall the voters of the Village of Swanton appropriate $691,290 for the operation and maintenance of the Highway Department for 2024. Article number 4, shall the voters of the Village of Swanton appropriate $88,480 for the operation and maintenance of the Fire Department for 2024. Article number 5, shall the voters of the Village of Swanton appropriate $998,967 for the operation and maintenance of the Police Department for 2024. Article number 6, shall general obligation bonds or notes of the Village of Swanton in an amount not to exceed $14,833,613, subject to reduction from the application of available state and federal grants in aid and reserves, be issued for the purpose of financing the cost of constructing a new public safety facility for the Swanton Village Police Department and Swanton Fire Department. The cost of such improvements estimated to be $14,833,613. The legal voters of the Village of Swanton are further notified that an informational meeting will be held on Monday, February 26, 2024 at 7 p.m. in person and via Teams for the purpose of explaining all budget items to the voters. There is also Teams meeting access for this meeting. Anyone desiring to participate and listen in on the meeting can do so by going to the Village's website at swantonvt.gov. Click on Village Trustees, and find the meeting by date. Open the agenda and click on the meeting link. Dated at Swanton, Vermont, this 29th day of January, 2024. Signed by Neil Spear, President, Chris Leach, Trustee, Eugene LeBombard, Trustee, and Adam Paxman, Trustee. Received and filed the 29th day of January, 2024 by Diane L. Day, Village Clerk. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, Brian Savage, the Town Administrator, will do a PowerPoint presentation of the budget for the Town of Swanton. I'd like to let him do his presentation, and then after that, the select board will take questions. Okay, Brian?
Okay, thank you.
Brian, can you hold 1 second? Yep. Can we ask the people online if they can see his presentation, please? Just want to make sure we're sharing the correct screen. Thank you.
Okay, they can.
Okay, good, all right. We'll go through this, and as Earl has asked, everybody can hold questions until afterwards, and your answers will be given by the appropriate member of the board who has the expertise on that. Well, first of all, after the 2023 annual meeting last year, the select board consisted of Chair Earl Fournier, Vice Chair Edward White, Senior Nicole Draper, Steve Bourgeois, Cody Hemingway, who won election filling the seat of James Gilmet, who decided not to seek re-election after serving many years on the select board. Cody has grown into his new role very well, and we wish to thank James for his many years of service, dedicated service on the select board. In December, Mr. White resigned from the board due to personal reasons. He served our community well, and we appreciate his contributions to the select board. Joel Clark, a former member of the select board, was appointed to fill the vacant seat until town meeting of this year, 2024. We welcome Joel back to the board. After several months of planning and design work, a new joint website for the town and village of Swanton was launched. And if you have not already done so, please check it out. It's www.swantonvt.gov. And we, in addition, have an official Facebook page, the town of Swanton, Vermont. I'm not advancing.
So advancing.
I think it has to be on your main screen. Now we should announce.
There we go.
So I forgot to list something.
The select board wishes to compliment Gordon and Deborah Winters on the work they have done in restoring the old Champlain Theatre building on Canada Street. This, along with the rehabbing of the former memorial building, provided a much-needed rebirth of the downtown area. This redevelopment project shows just what a public-private partnership can get accomplished. Future developments will likely take a similar course going forward. I'm stuck.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Every time you hear a ding, know it's gonna be a delay, because she's gotta go let somebody else
Okay.
know.
Oh.
Good.
Okay. In 2023, our town plan was updated as required by state law. This was accomplished with many hours put in by the Planning Commission. The town did apply for and receive a grant from the state of Vermont to assist with this task. Corey Parent of Leo 9 Associates worked with the Planning Commission in developing and writing the plan. Several public hearings were held and the select board adopted the plan and is now in place for the next 8 years. And the next project, which is ongoing presently as we speak, will be to update our zoning bylaws to be in sync with the town plan. And again, Corey Parent of Leo 9 Associates is assisting the Planning Commission with that, and this process will be ongoing throughout 2024. The select board has spent considerable time addressing other major issues. The financial policies of the town are in the process of being updated. As a part of this update, you will notice an article to establish a capital reserve fund for future construction and maintenance of town-owned assets in the initial payment of $25,000. These policies and funds are a requirement for future federal grants the town may apply for. Basically, we had to go through all of our financial accounting policies. They have to be compliant with the generally accepted government accepted standards board, accounting board, or GASB, and the federal government is really coming down hard on that to make sure that towns receiving federal grants are compliant with GASB. The planning and fundraising activities are in process for the proposed community center by Swanton Recreation. The contract has been awarded for a site assessment on the 4th Street property. This work is hoped to be conducted this spring to determine if there are any other further hazmat issues. A new HVAC system was installed in the library building last summer. Arnold and Skangus architects are working on addressing the library's icing issues on the roof. Unfortunately, there is no simple solution. In the highway department, the following roads had resurfacing work done on: Lakewood Drive, Campbell Bay Road, and Deans Road. Culverts were replaced on Campbell Bay Road, Deans Road, and Champlain Street. The rising cost of asphalt is a challenge, and we were not able to resurface all the roads that we had planned for in 2023, placing us behind in our schedule. Work is continuing on having stormwater permits renewed on Robin Hood Drive and Country Club Estates. This is a lengthy process due to the change in regulations of the state of Vermont. In June of 2023, discussions were held, including a public hearing as to whether to continue work on the proposed sidewalk from the village line to the entrance of Missisquoi Valley Union High School on First Street. After careful consideration of the question, and given the fact that the school district was no longer in the position to finish the sidewalk from First Street to the building, the select board voted to discontinue the project on June 20th. The town does own the plans for possible future use, but had to pay back $70,287.60 to the state of Vermont. As the duties of the town administrator and zoning administrator have grown, it was decided by the select board to hire a full-time administrative assistant. In April, Christina Candles was hired to fill this role and has worked out very well. Our longtime lister, Jim Pratt, decided to retire after many, many years of devoted service to the community. We thank Jim, who has stayed on to train his replacement, and we wish him all the best. The select board appointed Kevin Nichols to fill the vacancy until this year's town meeting. The Swanton Animal Control Officer continues to be Jim Benson, who can be reached by cell phone at 802-238-3246, by email at swantonaco@gmail.com. The Animal Control Officer only deals with dog issues. The ACO does not accept dogs that are no longer wanted by their owners. Cats and other animals are not handled by the ACO. And the town health officer is Amber Fountain, and she can be reached at 802-324-7674 or by email at swantontho@gmail.com. Now, the projects for 2024. We're continuing the design and construction of the LVRT trailhead. Installed a culvert on Brooklyn Street to replace a present storm drain that is improperly installed. A long overdue project to correct and straighten Swanton Hill Road. To keep costs down, our highway department employees will do much of the work. However, engineering and blasting needs to be done. There is an allocation of $162,500 for this year, and the intent of the select board is to pay for the project over 2 years. If nobody has ventured up to Swanton Hill, that is a very dangerous hill. It's not a pleasant ride down in the summer, let alone on an icy day in the winter. There is also an allocation of $450,000 for resurfacing of roads, which is $100,000 more than last year. So, here we go. The 2024 budget request summary. Keep in mind that this is if all voted articles are approved. The total general budget is $1,407,629.32. To be raised by taxes is $1,194,251.50. The highway budget total is $2,248,636.02. To be raised by taxes is $2,056,636.02. The library budget is $212,502.88. That's for the payroll and the building maintenance, with the library appropriation for its operation and programs of $70,900. So the total to be raised by taxes is $283,402.88. The general budget, if all articles are approved, $1,407,629.32. To be raised by taxes would be $1,194,251. The projected 2024 tax rate. Please keep in mind, this is based on the grand list of 2023. The 2024 grand list is not yet ready to be used and probably won't be until sometime June or July. So the projected tax rate based on last year's grand list is 0.1664 cents. The 2023 tax rate was 0.1398, and the 2024 tax rate increase of 0.0266. And again, a reminder to vote on March 5th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So what makes up the general tax? Okay, you have your regular, which is this year, by regular, that pretty much covers the operations of everybody and everything that's in the town office. It covers the listers, it covers the zoning, the planning, the town clerk, the assistant town clerk, my office, the town administrator, all of the boards and whatnot, everything that goes on at the town offices on Academy Street is paid for out of the regular, out of the general tax. And that total is $814,928. The tax rate there is 0.1134 cents. The appropriation to Missisquoi Rescue of $199,245 last year increased this year to $229,761. So the tax for that is 0.0320 cents. And then the recreation department will be receiving this year, they've requested in their budget $149,562, and that works out to 0.0210 for the tax rate. So basically the general tax is, those items are put in the general tax because everyone in the town who resides either in the town or the village pays that general tax for those services. Now we go to the highway budget. If all articles are approved, $2,248,636.02. To be raised by taxes, $2,056,636.02. Given a 2024 projected tax rate of 0.3726, the 2023 tax rate was 0.3171, so it's a tax increase of 0.055. Now, what makes up in the highway budget? Well, obviously, there's the regular highway. The maintenance and the staffing of the highway department, the trucks and everything and all the equipment to keep the roads in good repair and condition. That total for the highway is $1,285,363.02 for a tax rate of 0.2329. Now, the police, protection for the police protection the village or the town gets from the village is included in that highway tax, and that this year is $475,057 with a tax rate of 0.0861. And then the fire department, fire protection, again from the town, from the village to the town protection, is $296,216 or 0.0536. Now, it's in the highway account because only the people who are the property owners who are in the town outside of the village pays the highway tax, and that's why those items are covered there. Those who have property in the village, the charge for the police and the fire department, and then as well as the village streets show up in the village taxes. So that's why a lot of people who come into the area do not understand how the town village operates. So we're trying to make it as clear as possible. So that's what makes up the highway tax. So the library is kind of a standalone. It has, if all articles are approved, $297,986. To be raised by taxes is $283,402. Projected tax rate is 0.0395. Last year's rate was 0.0338. So a point increase of 0.0057. That's over a little over a half a cent. Now, tax projections. So the general fund, if you're in the town or village, doesn't make any difference. The tax rate is 0.1664. The highway is only if your property is in the town outside of the village, is 0.3726. And the library, whether you're in town or village, is the same, 0.0395. So if you are a property owner residing, say, in the town outside of the village, your municipal tax rate is 0.5785. And if you're in the village, your tax rate for your property, for the town assessed services that are provided by the town, is 0.2059. Again, it's based on the 2023 grand list. And we don't know for certain, but it's pretty likely that the grand list will be higher when we do finally get it for 2024. And when that goes higher, your tax rate should go down. The estimated municipal tax, if you have an assessed value on your property of $150,000, you're in the town outside of the village, your municipal tax is would be approximately $867.75. In the village, it's $308.85. And $200,000 assessed value, town tax in the town would be $1,157. In the village, $411.80. We go up to $250,000. It's in the town, it's $1,446.25. The village being $514.75, and we go up to $350,000 would be $2,024.75, or the village is $720.65. And then we do have we have our listed candidates for office. Do you want to have those introduced now, or would you like to wait until we're done with questions on the budget?
Probably we'll take the questions on the budget,
Okay.
and then we can do the candidate.
That sounds good. So we're open for questions on the budget.
Or comments about how you feel about the town.
Hey, Brian, can you go back to that last slide?
Tax protection.
Yes. So the village portion here does not include those line items that the village votes on, right?
That's correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
just
This
want to
is-
make that clear. This is just
strictly the
part that-
town
right.
bill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Al?
If we go back one, it said the village, it said NA, not available. What's that stand?
Not applicable.
They don't pay town highway tax.
Right, we don't pay town highway tax.
In the village.
In the
In the
village.
village, we pay it to the village, not to the town. And the things that are included in that highway, the police and the fire, we don't pay to the town if you're in the village. We pay it to the village.
Okay. Brian?
Yep.
I don't know if this is relevant, can't remember what slide it's on, but it was your usual slide, your regular, and one of the expenses, and it was the middle expense, went from 600,000 something in 2023 to 800,000 something in 2024.
Yeah, that's,
And I just wondered, is there some detail that accounts for, because that's kind of a major jump.
one of the things and that's our general budget, just our general budget.
Yeah,
Doesn't include any of the appropriations for Northwest, Franklin County Home Health or any of that. This is just a regular budget. What has happened is the same thing that's happened to most municipalities and even the schools. For one thing, it was a 12% hike in our insurance
okay.
coverage.
Well, I just
And we
wondered-
had to put on covered one more family that we were covering. One employee had it requested, and we have to do it because it's part of our package, and then one more two-person policy. And that pretty much covered most of that increase. There's a few other little odd ones here and there, but
That's
that was a
okay.
significant part.
Usually there's a major something
Yeah.
that happens when a budget leaps like that from one year to
And the
another.
unfortunate thing about that is, we might have thought about doing some other things that might have improved Swanton, but because we had this cost come to us, we already had more of an increase than we wanted to see.
Sure, yeah.
So it limits what we're going to be able to do.
I just wanted to understand it.
Yes.
I have a question on the police budget for the town. A little background, I did a little math comparison, and I took the total proposed budget for '24, and I divided it by the total number of hours worked by the police department. So they have, according to Chief Sullivan, they have 8 full-time officers and 6 part-time, who are gonna work 22,880 hours for the year. If you do that math, you come up with $68.32 per hour per employee. If we take the proposed contract, which was, as I understand it, a take it or leave it contract of $445,057, divide that by the number of hours provided, that's 3,650, which is 10 hours a day for 365 days. That's $130.15 an hour that the town is paying. I would like, the difference between the cost incurred by the police department of $68.32 an hour to the cost paid by the town of $130.15 an hour amounts to an overcharge above cost of $249,368. I'd like to know why that is.
Well, what we were presented with is basically their coverage is providing us a third of their time. And so we're paying a third of the budget. I hadn't looked at it that way, but that's where that number comes from.
We're getting only about 15% of their available hours, and we're paying 30% of the budget. It seems kind of high to me. $130 an hour seems, that's twice what their cost.
70 hours a week, that's 3,500 or 3,600 hours a year, or whatever, however it comes out. But yeah, but that's what we were told, it's a third of the budget.
That was a take it or leave it contract?
Well, I suppose we could have not took it and not warned anything, because we weren't in a position at that point in time to probably get anybody else to come into play.
My point was, it wasn't negotiated.
It wasn't
And you
negotiated, no.
You don't know what's included in that 475,000?
Other than the 10 hours a day of service.
Does the board feel that $130 per hour is a little bit much?
Well, we were concerned about the cost, increase in the cost, but their budget had gone up considerably too, and, you know, we felt that we needed to bring something before the voters, because I think it would have been irresponsible on our part not to bring any additional police services to the town people. Otherwise, we're gonna have to rely strictly on the state police. It's your decision to make, you know, and the cost of police coverage isn't going to be cheap no matter where we get it, even if we get it somewhere else. Yes, go ahead, Cody.
Also, I have to include that the benefits went up, and then I believe they're switching to a different dispatching, which was like alone like $65,000 increase.
Correct.
Just by itself. So there was actually a few things that went into that increase. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to find.
Also, the cost of it's not just the hourly wage that's paid to the police, it's the cost of the vehicle,
Yeah, but
it's the cost of the building, it's the cost of the admin.
If you take their total budget, all of those costs are included.
Yes,
Last year, the police department, our contract with them was $64 an hour. Their cost was $60.73, which is reasonable. This year, they've doubled the charge, but their cost has not gone up that much.
How do you know?
Well, they've gone up almost $500,000, the police department budget, if you look at the building, the numbers.
Yeah. It seems like pretty expensive.
You want,
Pretty expensive.
we can address that. Bill?
May I?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Bill Sheets, Swanton Village Manager. Also, as part of the team that's here tonight is Chief Matt Sullivan. Chief Sullivan, report to the front of the room, please. Come on up. So, the formulation is that the town receives 1/3 of all patrol shifts. So you're including, I assume, the SRO, you're including everybody in that formula. We literally took the number of patrol shifts in the village and in the town, and the town gets 1/3 of them. 1/3 of the $65,000 dispatching contract, 1/3 of the chief's time, 1/3 of insurance, 1/3 of everything. So that's how we arrived, very simplistically, at the formula. So that I think, Chief, you can weigh in, please.
Yeah, and I would just add that it's been held artificially low for many years. My understanding is that the first contract was somewhere around 2012, and from what I'm being told by officers who were around at that time, it was a little over $100,000 at that time. So for more than a decade, that price hadn't been increased and was essentially subsidized by village taxpayers. And so if you look at the cost, we had just as a rough cost per officer, cost between salary and benefits alone, and again, this isn't the equipment or any other costs associated with running the police department, we estimate around $200,000 or $100,000 per officer, and because there are 2 officers assigned to cover shifts in the town, that's roughly $200,000. So for many years, the cost has been kept artificially low. As I want to say that maybe in 2022, it was the contract was roughly $130-some thousand, and then it was because it seemed like the village was losing money, and I really rely on Assistant Village Manager Paradis for the numbers. We discussed raising that, and it was raised to around $190. And then we were really looking at the cost of the police department, and there were some pretty substantial increases in both the cost of benefits, insurance, and of course the dispatching services, additionally $65,000 cost this year. When you look at that and what Village Manager Sheets just said, really, as far as patrol coverage goes, the town is responsible for 1/3 of that cost. And so that's where we came up with that simplistic formula. You just take the budget of the police department and attribute 1/3 of that budget to the town, and hence the large increase in cost of coverage.
It's important to note, not in your figures, are the fact that if the village approves the police budget, if the town approves a 70-hour contract, we will move forward with the hiring of 1 full-time certified law enforcement officer and 1 full-time administrative assistant. If one or the other or both fail, we will not hire. But that's part of this contract price.
Yes.
I had a question on the town's warning. They're asking for $475,057 for police protection. Police budget is $405,489 to the town. What's the difference? Other than $69,000.
Well,
It's because we have, may I?
Go on.
So we have a current existing contract that goes through March 31st of this year. So this represents a calendar year, so it is 3 quarters. It's from April 1st to December 31st. So that portion of $475,000 is the amount you just gave.
Plus the jail account.
Yep.
So wait, you're changing, so it's matching like the fiscal taxes to your budget?
So it covers an entire year, but the first 3 months are under the existing contract of $196,000 a year, so those 3 months. Then $475,000 for the following 9 months. If you add those 2 amounts together, that's the amount you have in the budgeted line item.
Is that misleading to the taxpayers?
I can't control when the contract has historically been from, it's not a calendar year police contract. It
No,
starts
it isn't. It
April
isn't a calendar
1st.
year.
Why does your budget not match, the town budget? The town, appropriation?
So what you're looking at is the village's budget? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Lynn Paradis, I'm the Assistant Village Manager and Controller. What you're looking at is the village's actual budget. So I have to record revenue based on our calendar year, not the town's. So we're gonna bill the town for 3 months under the existing contract, 9 months under the new contract, and that's what makes up the 405,000 that you're seeing. The town needs to raise in taxes their contract, which is an April 1 to March 31 contract. So our contract with them is gonna be the 475, but we're gonna record as a village revenue of 405.
So just for transparency, I think the dates should be equal, going across the board.
Well, the problem would be,
I'm gonna just tell.
Well, let me get into this, is
You're
the down portion of the
It's very
meeting.
confusing to taxpayers. You shouldn't have to pay 3 weeks trying to figure out what you're voting on. I'm sorry, you shouldn't.
Okay, the town's coverage is gonna be from April 1st till March 31st of next year for the 475,000. And then if we have another article next year, whatever happens, you vote again and it'll start on that same contract. I mean, we could switch it over to that at some point in time, but they do theirs, their way. We raise our money for a 12-month period, for that 12 months. It just, that's what we're gonna be paying. Next January, February, and March, we're gonna be paying the rest.
But it makes it very difficult to compare apples to apples. Right now, we're looking at apples to elephants. That's all I I'm sorry.
Go on?
I think your transparency needs to be better.
Chief Sullivan, can you tell me how many officers are on a 10-hour shift in the village each day?
On a 10-hour shift, so the 10-hour shifts, right now the shift schedule is the evening shift is on 10-hour shifts from 4 in the evening until 2 a.m. And so 1 officer is assigned to the village and 1 officer is assigned to the town during those 10-hour shifts in the evening.
So 2 officers on duty for town and village during evening shift?
Correct.
And how many officers on duty during day shift in the village?
1 officer essentially on patrol. We have 1 officer on patrol. I am generally here Monday through Friday, and then we have an admin officer who is also here Monday through Friday. And so hence why we were asking for an additional position, because that day shift officer who is assigned to the village covers generally Monday through Friday, and then we have 2 open shifts to cover the village during the day, Saturday and Sunday, that we need to fill. We rely on part-time officers and full-time officers to pick up those shifts on overtime, and it's difficult to fill those shifts. So in order to really have every shift covered, we need 1 more full-time officer. And then what we would do is we would go to 10-hour shifts at the daytime also. Starting at 6 a.m. until 4 p.m., we would have 1 officer covering 4 days and the other officer covering the other 4 days. And then they would rotate essentially weekends on, weekends off. Because previously.
Okay, Siobhan, this is the town portion of the meeting. Those questions you asked are specifically for the village. And their meeting will be starting as soon as ours gets done.
I'm sorry, Earl, but this is all relative.
It's relative, but I mean, as far as the town portion is concerned, it's not, you know, we don't control the police department, and we can't answer those questions, and you should ask them questions during the village portion of the meeting. Okay? Because they are important questions and they need to be answered, but you should ask it then, in case anybody else has any more questions specific to the town budget.
You started asking a question about the town police force, so that was relevant.
Yeah.
Well, it's
But I think she's
Swanton
talking
PD, but I'm trying to understand the schedule and put it in layman's terms for people. So in order to do that, I'd like to understand how many officers are on the shift for this and how many for that. Simply write it down and not have to ask 2 questions. Really.
Well, we know, you've got the question answered for as far as
You
what the
wasted more
town
time
is
interrupting
concerned.
me. I would have been done in a second, no offense.
Okay. I just don't wanna get into all the police stuff that pertains to the village if there's people that have questions about the town budget. Once we get done, then you can move on to that.
Earl, it is about the town budget. It's about the $475,000.
Okay, that's specific to the town.
It is,
Yeah.
that's what she's talking about. She wants to know how many officers are on duty.
Yes, and he did explain that.
But he wasn't quite done.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Couple online questions.
Go ahead.
Nick D would like to know, how much does Highgate contribute to MVR? Do we have
How much does Highgate contribute?
to the Cisco Valley Rescue?
Can you find that in the budget, Brian? It's gonna be less than Swanton, I'm sure of that, because Swanton has more people.
It's on page 51. That's the budget. You read down Swanton Highgate Community Support, they got Swanton at 229,000. They didn't list Highgate.
Should be in their revenue, so.
It should be, let's take a look at the revenue.
Yeah, I think that would be in Highgate's annual report, correct?
Yes, it definitely would be.
So can I go to one more
The,
question?
well,
Well, hold on, I think
Yeah.
he's got it.
the proposed for community support for income is $318,610. So you'd have to back out the $229,761.
So they can find that on page 51, you said?
Page 50,
Page 50.
page 50, and then what Swanton pays is on the bottom of page 51.
Okay. And then, one more question. This Ashley would like to know, I'm curious why the animal control budget is $9,500. How can we as a community work to lower this cost? I know it isn't a lot of money, but I'm looking to save wherever we can. Also, what does the health officer do? We want to know why the animal control gets $9,500.
Well, Cody, you're in charge of the animal control officer. Do you got any thoughts on that?
Usually it goes towards mileage going back and forth and stuff like that for the animal control officer to respond to any calls or stuff like that, and his stipend.
Thank you.
Okay, then they had a question about the health office.
Yeah, and what does the health officer do?
Question about the same thing, they wanna lower the cost?
No, just want to know what the health officer does.
What do they do?
Well, if there's, let's say, something that looks bad, garbage hanging around, houses that may not possibly be fit to live in, they'll get a call in, even though we don't have a lot of authority in the area, and they have to refer it to the state and all this, but, generally, they're the first level in those type of situations where there's a health issue because of the way the building's being taken care of or maintained.
What about junk cars and things like that?
That's more, I believe, a zoning issue than a health issue.
Okay.
You'd have to do, health would deal with garbage and, public health.
Earl, wasn't the health officer pretty active during COVID with various?
They had some activity and they still do get calls, we've had some issues to deal with, the homes or facilities that weren't fit to live in and, there were issues there. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's a position that we have to have.
It is actually a state position. The health officer is appointed by the Commissioner of Health in the state of Vermont, based upon the recommendation of the select board. But the salary for that, which is $350 a month, comes from the town.
Yep. Regarding animal control, in the town alone, from dog licenses, we receive $5,846. So that offsets that $9,500 plus the village dogs that are registered too. I don't have that figure, but so quite a bit of that $9,500 is covered through the licenses of the animals.
More on the library, where's the budget for the library maintenance and employee benefits at $212,000? I didn't see the budget for that in the town report. And then second part of the question, why is the maintenance and employee benefits on the same appropriation request? Shouldn't they be separated? Employee benefits is part of the payroll, right?
Okay. So, to answer your first question, the budget was inadvertently left out of the book when it went to the printer. I have the budget here, and I can certainly put it over on the table if anybody would like to take a sample of it. We apologize, it's the way the things were in a rush to get to the printers, and that's, this one budget was left there.
And I guess the answer to the second part of that question is the town, you know, there was a memorandum of understanding made 3 or 4 years ago now. And we have a former selectman who was very much involved in that, Mark Rushlow. And it was because it's the recommended way of doing things, and now the library employees are now town employees, which makes the position more competitive with other libraries in the area, salary and benefit wise. And building maintenance is something that really needs to be done there, and it's kind of gotten behind, and there are issues there we need to deal with, and it is a town building.
Well, the other ones all say operation and maintenance of, and it just seems weird that the library is like split, like, yeah.
So the library's in charge of their own operations, and that's what you see in the $70,000 budget, is they're doing operations themselves. The town is responsible for paying their employees, whom are now town employees, as well as maintaining the building, which is a town asset.
Yeah, we don't tell them what programs to run. We don't have any, we're not involved in that. They do that, you know, on their own. All we're responsible for is the payroll and the maintenance of the building. But we do try to work with them and work together, so hopefully it'll be for the benefit of all of Swan when we get done.
So that's actually employees' salaries and benefits?
Yes,
All right.
yeah. That's James.
James Gilman here. Just a question on the police budget. This gentleman answered most of the questions, but, so now we're gonna pay a third of the police budget. So are we partners now with the police department, or do we have any say in the budget now?
We don't sit in our budget meetings, no.
$275,000 increase is a lot of money for 14 hours a week. I mean, I understand there's a few other things in there, but it isn't $275,000 for it. And the other question is, did we look at other options? Ask for new bids?
No, we did not look at other options.
How come?
Well, because we were, basically because we were trying to work together with the village and come up with something that was reasonable, and they had a proposal before us, and, you know, we did realize that was not gonna be affordable. And by the time that decision came down, this budget came before us, and by then it was the 1st of January, actually after.
Well, I hate to say it, guys, I spent 10 years on that side of the board table, and that's pretty poor planning for me. To go ahead and increase the budget $275,000 because you guys didn't do your homework and look at other options. I'm sorry, but that's a hell of an increase, that's not to take on the chin.
I understand, a lot of people feel the same way you do, James.
So why did you guys put it on the budget then?
Because there probably wouldn't have been another alternative at that point in time. Yes, Joe.
I didn't
Oh, wait a
follow-
minute, are you finished, James?
I'm done.
I mean, I haven't yet followed through because I'm looking for information for next year, but I wrote an email to the sheriffs, the Franklin County sheriffs, asking about budget. I stopped by and I asked a simple question. I said I did not represent the village nor the town or the people, but I'm looking for information. And if you have time, would you please give me some information? And they pretty quickly responded to me. I didn't go for it because you kept with the budget as it is with $475,000 with the Swanton Village Police. But I think I can just agree with what James is saying, is that in August, or actually in May, the village announced buying the property and going with the public facility. In August, they put it on their Facebook that that was the plan to make this facility. In October, they started having open houses. So I just feel like there's plenty of time for the board to get together and look for requests for proposal. I understand that you were trying to work with village, and I don't disagree that you shouldn't have. But you also should have looked at the options for the people. You could have been able to actually say, well, Franklin County is probably gonna charge us this much, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the village is gonna charge this much, you know? Does that make sense, people?
Okay, yes.
So,
in all respect to all of you, what you do for all of us, I can't help but feel that it's an all or nothing statement is almost a blackmail. And I really am kind of angry. All or nothing, if, I don't know when exactly they gave Matt Sullivan gave you the budget or whoever, but time to negotiate, 1/3 of the budget, I hope it doesn't pass. I really do. Because then you're gonna be forced to sit down with Mr. Sullivan and you're going to have to negotiate again, because I can't picture the police department willing to sacrifice thousands of dollars to prove a point. And that's the way I feel it right now, that this is a point trying to be proved. And you guys are being held captive with it, trying to appease everyone.
It's a very difficult issue, there's no question about that, and, you know, and it involves town-village relationships and working together, and, you know, in the long run, I really still feel that if we could work together, we're gonna be all better off.
Absolutely.
But if the people of Swanton say no, then we'll have to come up with another option. It really is your decision to make. Select board making that decision on their own, I don't believe we should do that.
No.
There's only 5 of us. But the people of Swanton really feel that way. They can vote that way and we'll honor their position.
At the rate they're charging, the people should vote it down, because that is ridiculous. They held you captive. You had to come up with something, I understand that, but this is really ridiculous. It's really ridiculous.
Well, Siobhan, or did you have your hand up here?
I did.
Go ahead quick and then I'll go back to Siobhan.
Go ahead to Siobhan.
No.
I have a quick one. $65,000 for dispatching, is that for the year or is that per month?
65,000 for,
Dispatching?
that's for the year, right?
Correct.
Whoops, wait, well, I said, I'll get back to you, okay?
Okay, to get back to your other answer about the people need to let you know. The people did let you know. We had a meeting. You sent out a flyer to everybody, the mailing list in the town. They let you know at that meeting.
That's not a vote, Al.
It's not a vote.
No.
But at least 80 or 90% of the people said, no way, and it still went on the ballot.
And when was that meeting taking place, Al? Do you remember the date?
Well, I'll have to go back and look.
It was January 10th. I remember that day very well for another reason, but, at that point in time, we didn't have a lot of options left, okay?
So why did we have that meeting?
Just to gauge what the public felt about it,
Right.
to give us an idea.
And the public said, no way.
So what you're saying is we shouldn't have put anything on the ballot.
You shouldn't have put that on there.
Okay, all right.
You should have negotiated it, sent it back.
We wouldn't have been able to warn it. Okay, was it, no.
I just want to say, you guys are doing a good job. It's just, a lot of what I'm hearing is the frustration with the increase in taxes. And then you add the school, which is almost a 13% increase this year. And you have the state coming after another 20% or up to 20%, whatever that number is, because it's a moving target right now. There's a lot of fear in this community right now with the increase in taxes. And I don't think,
Well, rightly so.
$1,000 increase on one line item is going to be very low.
Rightly so. I mean, you know, we don't,
So there's a lot going into everything that's coming out.
and, you know, I mean, we're all taxpayers too here, so it's a struggle. And, go ahead. All right, Sandy, did you have a question or
I
comment?
just wanted to thank you all for working hard to help to bring us together to be one Swanton. For over 15 years, we've been talking about coming together to be one Swanton. And so thank you in your effort to do that, and I hope it can happen before I die.
No
Yeah.
pressure.
Could I say something when you get a minute?
Yes, you can.
Excuse me. Bless you.
I'm stepping down as a trustee because I'm just old and I'm not as good as I once was. But I'll tell you something that I've done my whole career is that I go out and I search and I listen and I can tell you that the largest majority of town and village people that I've talked to want more coverage.
But not at that cost.
Now, just a minute, please. If you look around, right here in Vermont, our police force is marginally fully covered. Other police departments aren't. The state police, Bill can talk to this, are way underfunded, not underfunded, undermanned. They're having a hard time getting people to go to their schools. We don't overpay our policemen. We probably overwork them because they most of the time, if they're working an 8 or 10 hour shift, they're really here for an hour or two extra because there's paperwork and there's court time and there's a myriad of behind the scenes stuff that has to happen. And I can tell you, we're safe. We're safer than St. Albans, I think. We're definitely safer than anybody in Chittenden County. These guys do a tremendous job, not only in solving crime, but preventing it. I mean, something you might not realize, but there's a lot of drug activity that's happening in this county. These guys are catching them right and left. Swanton sector for border, this is the hottest section of the northern border anywhere. Now, our police don't follow the border, but their work and their backup and the backup for them is all affected. This is the largest number of people coming from Canada sneaking into the United States is happening in the Swanton sector, which is northern New York, Vermont, top of New Hampshire, and a little bit of Maine. It's right here. These guys, we have a tremendous workforce. Our chief is awesome, top of the line, extremely good, not only at the policing part of it, but keeping his troops working and efficient. All my years as a trustee, the biggest budget I caused the most stink about was the police department always. Because back when I was dating my wife in the 60s, we had one constable. And he and I talked a lot. I won't tell you why, but we did.
Oh, yeah.
But the world is so different now. And in Swanton, you know, we can walk our streets and be safe. You know, we can hold our head up. We can not worry about our kids walking to school. It's you're getting what you pay for here. Your money is well spent. Thank you.
Chris,
Sure.
I know you, and I know you're 100% accurate. I know you are. But I would like to see the town, the village, get back together and negotiate this out again. Because we can't just stay in our houses and live. We gotta live.
We're in a kind of a perfect storm of costs here.
I know we are.
And
That's why
it's
we
not-
all gotta get together and work.
Well, I'll go back to something my high school football coach, Bob White, he used to say to us, all of us guys, short-term pain for long-term gain. It's true in academics, because when I was in college, if I had a subject advanced calculus or something that I had to go for. I did 10 times more homework and I got it. Well, it's the same thing's true in economics. A hard-earned dollar spent today saves 5 to 10 hard-earned dollars up the road. And yes, it's too bad that all these other costs, the educational costs, the state costs, are all falling at the same time, but we're still getting a hell of a good deal. I mean, it's hard, and every person, what I want people to do is look at your own situation, look at your capabilities now and in the foreseeable future, and vote accordingly. Look at where you're getting value. Every dollar you spend in the village or the town directly affects your quality of life. The money you send to Montpelier and the money you send to Washington, who fricking knows? But the money you spend here helps you here. Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll ask one more time, real quick. I just wish, we got a week. We all get together and talk this through again before it goes on that ballot. Because it's gonna fail.
Can't do it.
No, no.
It's gonna fail.
Okay, then we
Well, then they can go back to square one.
Okay.
Okay,
That's how you wanna do it.
Chris brings up a really good point here, and that's gets lost in the whole issue is, you know, police coverage and how important it is to a community. This we have to consider. And it's on the ballot, and the voters will make the final decision. They always do. Yes, sir.
Who watches out for us after 2 o'clock in the morning?
What's that?
Who watches out for us after 2 o'clock in the morning?
Our schedule will go till 2 now, because of the 10 hours from 8 to 10, because we were 5 to 1 before, so now we're going from 5 to 3. So it would be, the village would be covering the town.
4 to 2.
4 to 2, okay, so after 2, in the town, anytime that we're not on the village contract, it goes to the Vermont State Police.
So we are using the state police.
What?
We are gonna use the state police stuff.
We still are, we have been.
So we're not gonna be alone left with nothing.
No.
But there may be 2 officers covering from here to Johnson. So you might be 2 hours, 6 hours, or nobody shows.
So you defend yourself.
Beg your pardon?
So you defend yourself.
Exactly.
Damn right.
But if you're a village resident, to be clear, Swanton Village Police Department's 24/7. So you get a response, not from the state police, but from Swanton Village.
Yeah, there's always a
Where you
worker
live.
on call. Somebody will get on call.
Wait a minute. Bill, you're addressing village at that point, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Village
Because we're
24/7.
covered, in theory, from 4 PM to 2 AM. That's the proposal, is that correct?
That is correct.
So what happens during the day?
The Vermont State Police covers it.
Okay.
Yeah, Siobhan.
But during the day, if an incident were to happen, people have to call the Vermont State Police, would the village still assist if asked to?
Any life safety issue will go anywhere at any time.
Like, you're not gonna be like, hang up, call state police, right? Like,
No, if it's not,
do they?
It depends on what the
Not our
issue is.
jurisdiction.
Chief, you had something?
Yeah, I understand the sentiment, that people are upset about the expense of the police contract, but I wanna put it in perspective, I mean, this conversation about one Swanton. Just understand that as a town resident currently for police services, on a $250,000 assessed home, you're paying about $90 per year for the 8 hours of coverage per day. A village resident is paying almost $1,300 per year for essentially twice the shift coverage, and then on-call coverage 24/7. So really, for twice the patrol coverage, just keep that in mind, $1,280 roughly is, I'm going off the top of my head here, so don't hold me to the exact numbers, and then roughly $90 for a town resident. So there's been a huge difference for years, and what I would love to see eventually, is the town takes on police coverage full service, similar to what the village has, and then you would see that tax rate, even with the bond for the new building, be equal across all residents in both the town and the village at a cost of roughly $1,037 per year for both a town resident on a $250,000 assessed home, for a town resident and a village resident. So it would bring the tax rate down for the village residents, and it would be a substantial increase for town residents, but you would also get the benefit of full coverage. And you would also realize an economy of scale, because we could expand the police department and have more officers on patrol at any given time.
What's the police coverage in the village during a given day?
During a given day, it is essentially from 8 a.m.-ish, 6 a.m.-ish, occasionally, depending on what shift we're running during the day shift, until 2 a.m. And then we are on call on the off hours.
You're on call from
2 a.m.
roughly you've got
until
20
6 or 8 a.m.
Roughly, you've got 20 hours of coverage in the village.
Correct. 16 and 20.
But you have twice the coverage in the village.
Correct.
That's why it costs you more.
Yes, but if you compare those rates, they're substantially different, right, currently. I mean, it's not even close as far as, it's not half the cost. The town residents are not paying half the cost for the patrol coverage when they're receiving essentially half rate of patrol coverage currently. But $90 on a $250,000 assessed home is not the same as $1,280.
So the town is only getting 10 hours a day, the village has 20 hours a day.
Right, so that's twice, right, 2 times.
So if, no, I mean,
Is that not right? 10 times 2 is 20.
Yep.
So, yeah, so
Okay.
again, if you think about cost and you think about the tax rate, it's very inequitable right now.
Yes, Joe.
One thing, certainly recognize the whole concern, 140% increase, and that's a huge increase. I think 10% to any budget increase is a big increase. But what I wanted people to be aware of, and there's a whole stack of papers here you can take with you when you leave, and like Chief Sullivan said right now, for the 2023 taxes, $89.25 for a $250,000 home. With the change in the budget, it adds $126, so the total for a $250,000 home is $215.25 for the year. The monthly increase for the police budget, and again, this is for the town, for a $250,000 home is $10.50 per month. Just so, that's where it actually hits your wallet. So I wanted to make sure you have those figures, they're available here. People, please grab them and take them with you so you see the actual impact to you, besides talking to, the 100,000 or whatever it was and what it goes up to and the percentage. Here's the actual impact to your taxes. So just want to make sure everyone's aware that that's available so they can see that.
And I just would add to that is, when this whole discussion first started, we took a look at what other towns are paying outside of Swanton. And if they have a police department and it's fairly well staffed, those numbers are what they're gonna be. That's just the way it is, okay? I mean, either we rely on state police or we contract for a limited amount of hours. That's the only way you're gonna really keep that cost under that $1,000, because it looks like, and you look in St. Albans, their budget's up $1 million strictly for police coverage. But they're gonna have full-time coverage. But it's not cheap, that's the bottom line, it's not cheap and it's never gonna be cheap. So either you take the risk or you bite the bullet. But we need to do, I think we're gonna have to come back with something else, but right now, this is what's on there, and we're gonna let the voters make the decision. And I think we had somebody's hand, was it Siobhan? Yep.
So I know that village residents can also sit on the Swanton Town Select Board. So I was just curious, are any of the current members of the Swanton Town residents of the village?
Not me. Nope, nobody is right now.
And then I have a separate question, I don't know, for the chief. So officers, when you get different levels of officer training, it's 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, if you have a higher training, you get paid more. I'm just curious if when you bring in officers and you train them, if there's anything that obligates those officers that if you pay for their training, they have to stay working for our department. Or, you know, because we worry about people getting their training, who's willing to pay, can afford to pay, and then going somewhere else and taking up employment with the money that Swanton Village and town, et cetera, pays for training.
Right, so in my experience here, I haven't had the opportunity to address this issue with officers, because we haven't hired somebody essentially from scratch and then had to send them to the police academy, but you're right, there's a substantial expense associated with that. I can tell you this, my experience in working in Burlington, when you were new, you would have to sign a 2-year contract of commitment. But understand this, is that if you hire an officer from scratch, it takes about a year to get that officer through the hiring process, to send them to the police academy, to then have them graduate the police academy and go out on field training. And it takes about a year until they're able to respond to calls for service on their own or act as a solo officer. So it is an extensive process, so essentially a 2-year contract, which I can tell you was never enforced in Burlington. I'm not sure if it is legally enforceable, but I haven't had the opportunity to address that issue here. Thankfully, we have level 3 certified officers who have inquired about working at our agency, but we just don't have the positions available to hire those people.
Thank you very much.
Siobhan, I can add to that if you don't mind. So I was the director of the police academy. Many municipalities have tried to do a contract. The question is it legally binding? But candidly, if you're a law enforcement officer and somebody wants to leave your organization, you don't want them anymore. Why would you force somebody to work in an organization they don't want to be in? So you let them go.
I just think about teaching contracts, and usually they have to finish out the year. I don't know how it works, if there's penalties on your pay if you leave earlier. I have one more question, if I may. Joel, I know that you weren't appointed to the board at the time that this budget for the police was put on there, but if you were already sitting in that seat, would you have said aye to putting it on the ballot?
Well, what I'm gonna tell you is I was, at the time, on the board when the budget came, and I attended the meetings between the village and the town. Am I crazy about this? No, but I voted yes. So I'm gonna say it, because you can look in the records, you can watch the Access TV, I voted yes. When we had our public meeting about the 24/7 coverage, it was very confusing for everybody, the whole discussion of what was gonna be provided or not, how much it was gonna cost, did people want 24/7, did they want 10-hour, 8-hour? There was a lot of discussion and it caused a lot of confusion, but to answer your question directly, I voted yes.
I apologize, I forgot that you were on the board.
Yeah, it was late to the game, but I have a lot of faith in the village police and what they provide. And at this time, I do not want to lose the possibility of them covering us, even though they only do that portion of the day. State police, as mentioned, could be hours away. And we've got the ability, and they ride the roads and do things that a lot of people don't see. I've ridden with them and seen what they do, a lot of faith in them. And again, to answer your question, I voted yes.
Again, apologies, I go to a lot of meetings, sometimes I get things mixed up.
Does anybody else have any questions on something else? Or comments?
I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Neil.
Just a general statement. All of us, both boards here, are elected by the citizens. And our job is to do what is best for our community, not individual wants or needs. And the select board, whether it's noticeable or not, has worked hard with the village, like Sandy's saying, we're working together to try to do the best for our community. And they considered other options, like they're stating, but they're not getting credit for considering other options. We had back and forth, we've got some bad vibes, and of course, any kind of budget is bad this year, because everything is going up. But they've done their due diligence, like Joel was saying. He was a little skeptical at our first meeting, but we put the numbers together and what they were gonna get for it, and they're backing the village's proposal for police coverage. And like they say, they're, like we're saying, both of us boards will do what the voters want. We just want to make sure that the voters are as informed and all the questions are answered. That's why we had, on our big issue, so many open houses. We wanted to try to get the word out there so people could consider other options eventually. So, but the select board did work together with the village board and the police department to do their best.
Did you just say that they looked into other options?
Yep.
What other options?
Earl just talked about talking to other communities.
Well, I looked
and
into
what they're.
to be clear, I want to clarify that, Neil, we were looking into the cost of what other communities are spending. Did we look for other options and make a phone call like you did? No, we did not do that, okay? Because it was just so late and we wanted to try to keep this thing going. But there's something else that's, people should be part of the discussion. One thing, and this falls in the same thing with our rec department, the facility for the police department is as inadequate as the rec department's facility. Okay? That shouldn't be, nobody should be questioning that. I mean, the cost of police coverage for the town, that's fine. We can have that discussion. Do we want to go 24/7? This is what it's going to cost, fine. But the facility they have isn't adequate. Is there better ways, more affordable ways of doing it? Maybe we're going to have that discussion, okay? If something's going to have to be done, it's going to get done one way or the other. We're going to either be part of it or we're going to be somewhere else. And my gut feeling tells me if we don't find a way to work together, we're going to end up spending more. But it's the voters' decision to make. And, that's why it's on the ballot. Yeah. Anything else besides police?
You know that saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Let's keep one Swanton and work together. We have a lot of good resources here.
And anybody who keeps up with current events here in the state of Vermont, there's a lot of communities struggling with this same issue. Highgate struggled with it. They got a last-minute proposal from the sheriff's department. And as far as I know, they're gonna go with it because they couldn't get no proposal anywhere else. So it ain't like you got a lot of places that are gonna come running in here offering you the service, okay? But their cost is considerably higher than what it was before too. And that's with the sheriff's department at less coverage than what we're looking at here in a smaller population. So there's not a lot of really good options out there if you want to have police coverage that you have some control over. They're very limited, very few.
One last thing on police. I just want to commend our chief and his team for the good job that they did when we had a situation in my neighborhood that was really scary. And he was on it right away, and he and his team did what they needed to do. And as an end result, one individual was captured. It's in our report, so I'm not going to repeat it. But anyway, he knew how frightened I was because living next door to what we were living next door to, and it's not the owner of that house, was another individual that lived there, and they were right on top of it, and I can't thank them enough. 'Cause I feel like they saved our lives by doing what they did. Just taking.
Well, this is one of the longest discussions we had at a county informational meeting in years.
It's very informative.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I guess at this time, I think we should turn it over to the village. Oh, okay, that's right. We got the candidate.
If I can get the PowerPoint, we'll bomb through there. So we have a number of contests, actually. We'll get two here in a moment. Not passed.
Are you doing it, Brian?
Yeah.
Okay. We're working against each other.
I think so,
Are you
too.
sure?
Trying to make you go twice as soon.
Yeah. That's what happened.
Okay. Candidates for office. Town moderator, vote for no more than one. I'm presently the town moderator. That's why I get the job of reading the warning. It was a job I had long before I went to work full-time for the town, but I'm running for re-election. Select person, vote for one, no more than one, 3-year term is Earl Fournier. He's running unopposed. Earl, do you want to say anything?
Well, I just think there's a lot of things we need to do here in Swanton. You know, we need to plan for future growth, you know, so we can see some growth in our grand list, make things more affordable. You know, and I think there's a lot of things we can do here in this community. I think the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail could be a real big asset for us. I also feel that we need to continue to make improvements in the village downtown area, because that is a big face for the town of Swanton. And, you know, I just want to keep working at it, and I feel I've got enough energy to do it right now. I'm not sure at the end of this next 3 years if I'll still have that energy, because I'm not getting younger, but I'm willing to commit the time to help the town.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've got select person for no more, for a 2-year term, vote for no more than one. We've got Nicole Draper and Alan Letourneau. So Nicole, if you...
So, hi there, everyone. I decided to run again because, much like Earl, I feel there's much more work to do in the community, and I'm committed to serving all of you in any which capacity. So if I do continue to sit on the select board, it's something that is a non-stop learning process. But again, I'm very committed to working for all of you in the future.
Okay. Alan Letourneau, running.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alan Letourneau. Not sure if everybody knows me. I'm from Swanton. I live out in the country. I'm excited to learn something new, and I got some extra time, and I want to get involved, see if I can help, and maybe change a few policies around to streamline processes and stuff like that. Thank you.
I'm stuck again.
Stand by.
There we go. Now, select person, vote for no more than one, 1-year unexpired term. We've got Joel Clark, he's actually seeking the seat. Joel?
Just real quick, I know most of you out there know me, but for those of you who don't, I've done 10 years in Planning Commission in Swanton, 10 years on the DRB, 8 on the Select Board, 8 as Road Commissioner. Didn't think I was gonna be here for 6 months out of the year, but life changes. I'm gonna be here 12 months out of the year and feel that I still got more that I can give to the community. Like Earl, I'm getting older, but I think I can still give you several years of good service. In the report, it has my home phone number, which I've done away with and become, you know, faithful to just one of these now. So 393-0550. If you got an issue out there, please talk to me. Some of this stuff right now I know is really bothering people. 393-0550. I'll give you my true take on how I see it, and I hope I can serve you folks for a while yet.
Amy Raymond is running. Is Amy in the group tonight? Anyways, so there's a contest there. So it's Joel and Amy. Lister, running unopposed, is David Horton for a 3-year term. I'll get it off the sheet.
Brian, can you stand by 1 second?
Yeah.
We just want to verify, if you are listening online, if Amy Raymond is listening and wants to make a statement online, please let us know. No chat, no nothing. Okay, sorry.
All right. So David Horton running for Lister. A Lister for no more than 1 year unexpired term is Kevin Nichols. He was appointed to fill Jim Pratt's position when Jim announced his retirement. So Kevin is seeking that for the 1 year unexpired term. And then auditor for a 3-year term is Joyce Bombardier. Trustee of public money, vote for no more than 1 3-year term, Nick Brusso or Stephanie Gagne. Nick or Stephanie here?
Nick's online.
Nick's online. Would Nick want to say anything?
Nick?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. I was appointed back to the position in, I believe, in June, and I would love to continue with it and keep going forward. So if you could vote for me on town meeting day, that'd be great. So, and hopefully we'll get started with holding some meetings and getting more active with the trustee public money going forward.
Thank you, Nick.
All right, thank you.
Slide 23.
All right, if we go back up 1, that one, there we go. Library trustee, no more than 1 for a 5-year term. Rich Kelly. Rich, are you in the, introduce yourself?
Yeah, I don't need to say much about myself. I just want to thank everyone for coming out. I want to thank our department heads here, from police, fire, rec, highway department, library. I don't like paying taxes any more than anyone else does, but we're actually getting a tremendous value for what we're getting here. So thank you to all those agencies.
Then cemetery commission. Vote for no more than 1 5-year term. Cody Hemingway is up for.
I'm Cody. I've been on the cemetery commission for a few years now. Recently, we did some upgrades to the cemeteries, and I think the new contract is going out to bid this year, so we have a lot of things happening, believe it or not. But yeah, should be great.
Yeah, but for those that don't know, on the cemetery, I just digress for a moment. We repaired and rehabbed the old burial vault. We fixed the roof on it. We tore off the addition that was put on. We gave it a good facelift. It's no longer used for the purpose of a burial vault, so we're using it as storage for the cemetery, but it looks good. It was long overdue. And we're going to give some attention probably this year, certainly, to the Church Street Cemetery. There's some work that definitely needs to be done there. Cemetery Commissioner for vote for no more than 1 a 4-year unexpired term, and I'll probably mispronounce this gentleman's name, John Koskowski. John was appointed last year. He actually ran last year, and Macy DuPont prevailed in that election, but we still had an opening, and so the commissioners decided that he'd make a good individual, so he was appointed, and he's running for the rest of that unexpired term. I don't know, is he on?
He is.
No, probably not. So, anyways, he's done and made a significant contribution to the cemetery commission this year, so I look forward to having him serve. And then last but not least, our collector of delinquent taxes, and Betty Cheney, who's present. And so just, Betty, you didn't want to say anything?
No, I appreciate everyone's support, and hopefully I do support going forward. But I don't admit to being old.
So again, just remember to vote. These individual ballots go on the ballots for the line items, and polls are here at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on March the 5th, next Tuesday. And there's still time to get an absentee ballot. And if you do request an absentee ballot, you get it for the town articles from the town clerk's office. But if you live in the village, you've got to come and or call Diane at the village office. But they're pretty good at exchanging information.
Yes.
So one more thing, Brian, those, the charts that you had up, is there any way that can go into the town report? I thought excellent information.
Oh, these charts? Yeah.
Presentation, but there's a lot of them.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's, but we actually prepare this just like I did this 4 days ago. And the town report, of course, is sent long ago. We couldn't get it done all in the same, because we're focusing on getting the town report done. And as close as 5 or 6 of us proofread that thing, and we still find a mistake, like leaving the entire budget of the library out of there, so.
Would it be,
Can you post it on your page?
I'll have
Yeah.
it in the minutes.
Right, we can, and it'll be in the minutes
I'll have
as well.
90% of that
Yeah.
presentation in the minutes.
We can put it on the website.
yeah, that's where we should put it, yeah, we should put it on the website. Thank you for that.
Yep. So that's.
Does anybody else have anything for the town? If not, I'll turn it over to the village.
Okay. Thank you, like the town board says, thanks everybody for coming. We're gonna do our PowerPoint presentation and have discussion after. And seeing as how he's had so much more practice at the PowerPoint presentation, I'm gonna turn it over to our village manager, Bill Sheets.
I had to do a presentation.
Yeah.
I don't want to block this, so I'm going to get up and move around. It's been a year since I wore this suit on, and I got a belt on. Don't worry, it's not going to be a projectile flying your way. It'll be okay. Hey, Lynn, come on over and join me. Can I get the clicker, please? Oh, sure. Brian, thanks for the 9 p.m. Speaking slot. I really appreciate it. Let me know when it's ready to go.
Thank the girls for the pizza.
Chili.
Chili.
The chili contest, yes. Good.
Can you control it?
Stand by. I can. Okay, so for the highlights for the village, again, I'm still Bill Sheets, still Lynn Paradis. We're just going to walk you through quickly. We're just going to really cover all of the various funds in order that they're presented in the town, the village budget. So highlights are on like page 4 to 8. There's a very detailed police report in terms of all of those activities this year. Same with the fire department report. So instead of just repeating those highlights, we're going to get right to it. Swanton Village, love my org chart. Those of you that's been here, you've seen it multiple times. We currently have 40 full-time members, 9 part-time, and 30 volunteer fire department members. In addition to the team up here, and Lynn and I, all the department heads are here, so you've met Matt Sullivan, but Bill introduced himself again. I think it's really important for them to be here. If you have specific questions on any line item, you're going to fire it at me. I'm going to immediately redirect it to them. So I'm just going to have you stand up and introduce yourself briefly, starting with Dean. What you do?
Dean Ryan, Public Works Supervisor.
Matt?
Matt Sullivan, Chief of Police.
And right down the line. They like the back row for some reason.
Todd Jones, Water Plant. Dan Chevalier, Fire Chief and Hydro Plant Supervisor. Nolan Dupont, Wastewater Operator. Craig Gutierrez, Swanton Village Electric Foreman.
Electric always gets a great applause. You want to just get that out of the way now? He's going to be waiting for it. Okay, so this is going to be true for every single slide. I'm going to give you kind of the budget pressures, what's really truly impacted each of these sections. Then I'm going to turn it over to our certified public accountant, our controller, Lynn, to give you some more details on what that impact really is in terms of dollars and cents. So for everybody, it is a massive amount on salaries and benefits, right? With 40 full-time, that's what we have. What you generally see is the majority of folks, 3.2% across the board increase. Fairly consistent. And then the insurance rates are incredible. So on average, for us, our share, our cost to give somebody insurance for their family, just the village cost is roughly?
It's over $30,000 for a family plan.
But it's the right thing to do. It's one of the reasons that you work here is for those benefits. But we are edging up closer to $1 million a line item just for health insurance as a village. So it's quite expensive. So that's the general fund is the smallest fund we're going to talk about. The fire department, so again, for this year, and oh, by the way, the bond item is a separate warning on the agenda. We'll get to that last, and we'll stay here till 1 o'clock in the morning if you all want to stay to ask more questions. But that is kind of a separate part of the presentation. The impacts on the fire department for this year, you literally go up, I think, $1, well, we'll get to it, like $1.35 per year on a $250,000 home. But again, these are the cost drivers. The police department, so again, we're trying this year to hire one more officer, starting in April, or when approved. By the time you hire somebody, they'll come on in about June, one full-time administrative assistant. Dispatching, the Vermont State Police used to dispatch for free forever. They no longer do that. So the introductory contract for us with St. Albans Regional Dispatch is $65,000 a year. Again, 2/3 town or village, 1/3 town. Insurance training marginally up to $10,000. Transportation and equipment replacement. So those are the drivers for the police department. And again, we'll talk about what that means to you at the end of the day in terms of taxes. Same thing, highway department. It's salaries and benefits. That's the big driver there. And I'm going to turn it over to Lynn. That ways forward. Go on this side.
So the column on the left is the 2023 tax rate. That's what we actually billed. The column on the right is the proposed 2024 tax rate. That is based on the 2023 grand list. We, like Brian had stated earlier, we do not have the 2024 grand list yet. So the general fund will be seeing an increase from 0.0836 to 0.1044. The general fund is basically this building, your parks, the Swanton Beach, is what rolls into that. And some of our admin, like our admin costs are split amongst all of the departments because we work for all of the departments. The fire department, that is seeing a slight increase from 0.0528 up to 0.0532. And if you, the town and village, we base that on, this is the procedure they've done for many, many years, way before I got here. It's a 5-year rolling grand list average. So I look at the grand list for the last 5 years, take an average. And that's how we do the split. So right now, I believe it went to 78% to the town, 77, 78%, and the remainder is the village. So whether you live in the town or the village, that is your tax rate. It's gonna differ by rounding because it is a rolling average. The police department is gonna be going from 0.5124 to a proposed 0.6001. And as Bill stated, dispatching is a huge piece of that. We didn't have an option. And you've got to have a dispatcher. We can't stand up a dispatch center for $65,000 a year. And the proposed positions. The highway department is going from 0.3455 to a proposed 0.4153. Dean's crew works in the highway department, the water department, the sewer department, and does the parks in the general fund. So their wages and benefits are split amongst those 4 departments. And their bill, like what we hit for expenses, is based on where they work. So if they have a year that they've got a lot of water leaks, more of their salary goes to the water department versus the highway department. So we're looking at a total we billed last year of .9943 and proposed to 1.1730. It is a significantly higher average than what we have done in the past, but we've got costs that are astronomical. Fuel's up, property insurance is up, the benefits, the health insurance, we don't have control over that. We did increase for this year how much our employees are paying versus what they have done for several years. We hadn't moved that percentage in a lot of years, and we did make them go up this year. Oops.
You got any?
Oops, I did in the wrong button.
All right.
Nope, that's what oh, there we go. So on a $200,000 house, we actually billed $1,988.60 last year. If everything passes, the proposed would be $2,346 for an increase of $357.40. On a $250,000 house, we billed $2,485.75. And the proposed, if everything passes, is $2,932.50 for a difference of $446.75. And on a $300,000 house, we billed $2,982.90. And this year's proposed is $3,519, or an increase of $536.10. So the breakdown between each one of the funds. On a $200,000 house, you can see the general fund is $208.80, fire is $106.40, police is $1,220, and the highway is $830.60 for the total of $2,346 if all of those pass. On a $250,000 house, the general fund part of your taxes is $261, fire is $133. Police is $1,525, and highway is $1,038.25 for a tax bill of $2,932.50. And on a $300,000 home, general is $313.20, fire is $159.60, police is $1,830, and highway is $1,245.90 for a total tax bill of $3,519.
Okay, stand by. We're hearing that the computer can't hear, so we're gonna go stand on the other side.
Yeah, so I think it needs to be on this.
Okay, fair enough.
So this schedule, so this schedule is the electric departments. Those of you that have Swanton Electric probably know the value of how reasonable our rates are. So this is in all of the utilities in Vermont, going from cheapest to most expensive. So you can see that in both the 600 kilowatt hour sales and the 1,000 kilowatt sales, we are the 3rd lowest in the state of Vermont. We have not had a rate increase since 2016. The utilities that surround us are Green Mountain Power and Vermont Electric Co-op. So you can see they're some of the most expensive in the state. I do know most of those utilities on that list had a rate increase in 2023. Some have already filed for 2024 rate increases. So we have our rates looked at every year by our consultants to see if we need to have a rate increase. And so far, our rates are still adequate. It is a huge process to go through for a rate increase, so it's nothing to take lightly. It's a long process. Our rates have to be approved by the Public Utility Commission, and they scrutinize them. A lot of the utilities that went in last year got half of what they asked for. So we're fortunate that we haven't had to raise rates and we provide great service. Our crew goes out and does mutual aid for utilities on a very regular basis. We spent, a week and a half, Dwayne, in January helping out Enosburg and Vermont Electric Co-op. Our guys are out there, we bill. Vermont Electric Co-op gets a bill from us when we go do mutual aid for them. Enosburg, it's depending on the situation because we swap time with them, because we work together a lot. But we have got some of the best rates in the state of Vermont right now, and we have one of the best crews in the state of Vermont, in my opinion.
I gotcha. So we continue to be 100% renewable resource. Our current FERC license expires April of 2024. Let's just say that that is a work in progress, a rather expensive, arduous work in progress right now for both our 401 license through the state of Vermont, Agency of Natural Resources, followed by our FERC license. We will not be relicensed in time. What's it mean to all of us? Not a thing. We operate on our old license. It's fairly standard practice right now in the state of Vermont, as evidenced by our partners in Enosburg and Morrisville. So no harm, just it's a very difficult process to navigate.
We've been at this 5 years now.
Yes, I would say that's accurate, yes. Just some of the different rate increases. So we do not anticipate an electric rate increase in calendar year 2024. So some of the projects that impact that we have going on, you'll recall Missisquoi River Crossing Project. It's been out to bid, it's been awarded, it is construction ready right around April, May of this year. That takes a detour, that becomes our main water line going down Foundry Street, 35 feet under the Missisquoi River, up and across connecting to our main line on Canada Street. So that's in process. Again, as a reminder, I think that impact, the value of 0% interest, loan forgiveness, which was significant, I believe it's $17,000 and change per year. We do not anticipate this year, calendar year 24, of that impacting our current fees for water. Wastewater, you know that the bond in November was very successful. It's an $8 million bonding authority. That project will start hopefully in calendar year 24, will be completed in 2025, which means that the first payment, full payment on the bond, depending on when construction ends, is either 2026 or 2027. Current calculations estimate that to be 56 cents a day for a user for wastewater. So again, on both of those enterprise funds, water and wastewater, we do not expect at this point to have an increase in either of those. Mr. Chair, you okay now with doing the this piece?
Is that the end of your presentation?
It is. We're doing questions and answers, but how do you want to do this? You want to do it now because the slide's there, or?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So for village president this year, one-year term, Neil Spear and David Winchester. Neil?
Okay, thank you, Bill. As many of you know, I've been on the board for quite a while. I am, like this past year, my workload, my business, my local business is decreased. I'm kind of semi-retired, so I think I'm going to have more time, like Joel says, more time to put into our community efforts. I appreciate past support from the Swanton community, and I'd like to keep going with working with the town and keep our positive flow going without too much aggravation, I guess. That's one word I could use, but I believe we've put together a good team. I appreciate all the help we've got from our team members that Bill introduced and the select board, and the trustees and the select board, working together all these years, and I just hope we can, as a community, come together and move forward, and I would appreciate your support next week, and thank you very much.
Yes.
I have a very glitchy connection. I'm sorry I can't join you all tonight. I came down with whatever's been going around yesterday and didn't want to share it with all the rest of you. Most of you know me. I've been around this community for a long time. My mom was part of this whole village trustee situation for many years. My neighbors I've been town selectman and village trustees, and I've followed this path as a lot of you have for many years. I look forward to hopefully getting your vote and asking for your support in making a change. Thank you very much.
Village clerk, 1-year term, unopposed, Diane. Can you mute all on there? Too close. Am I too loud? Diane, would you like to say something?
Just thank you everyone for supporting me over the years, and I hope to get your continued support.
A 3-year term for village trustee, Susie Kelleher and Shane Mott. Susie?
Hi, I'm Susie Kelleher. I've lived here in the village since 1980. I'm a Navy veteran, retired staff sergeant in the Army National Guard, empty nester, so I too have lots of time to devote to the village and projects, constituents, so I'll be able to answer any questions and be available whenever they need me. That's all I have.
My name's Shane Mott. Most of you know me, most of you don't. Well, let's hope to change for the people that don't know me. Get to know me. I won't give you all my phone number because I've been getting a lot of spam phone calls, but hit me up by email. Always knock on my door, always meet me on the village. I'd like to take the time to thank the village trustees and the town select board. You guys have been doing an amazing job, hard work, even as separate entities and working together. All the departments that you see behind us, you know, they've been putting in the hours, keeping the lights on per se. So it's great to have that. I'm a member of the fire department and the Missisquoi Valley Rescue. So you'll see me around in both of those entities, I'm sure. And like I said, reach out if you have any questions, email me. I'm available most of the time.
And for a 1-year term, collector of delinquent taxes, unopposed, Betty Cheney, who has left the building. Okay, she spoke earlier. Okay, so that's the candidate lineup. I'll turn it back over, Mr. President, for questions on the budget.
You're done your PowerPoint.
Questions first. And, yeah, I know where you're going.
Okay, yeah. Okay, any questions on the budget presentation tonight? Molly?
Tell me as contrarian, the Swanton Electric Department is one of the greatest assets this community has in terms of its economic viability, its service to obviously our industry and all the citizens. I get a little concerned that we're focused so much on no increases that we may neglect or defer really important maintenance and really important advances that are critical to a top-notch utility. So,
Can I answer that? Yeah, please do.
what?
Chris, yeah, that's my department. You need not worry. The electric department is very well managed and very well focused and very well positioned. We have great equipment. Our biggest fight, believe it or not, in the last 10 years was getting the state of Vermont to recognize our power plant as renewable energy. That is the craziest thing I ever saw. But all 4 generators are rebuildable. 2 of them are down right now for some maintenance, but the 2 big ones, we have 2 single megawatt, those are the 2 that are down. We have a 3 and 5 for a total of 10 megawatts. Our load is around normally 7 or 8. It peaks at 11 once in a while. Our focus with VEPSA, who is our broker, who buys and sells our power, has done a wonderful job for us and helps us keep our rates low. From a maintenance standpoint, our trucks and our crews that go out and take care of the wires are right on top of it. I mean, when I first started in '96, we had, I don't know how, I can't tell you how many, but we had somewhat frequent power outages for sometimes a half a day. We have worked up and polished our procedures to the point that we rarely have an outage. And if we do, it's less than an hour, thanks to our good man back there in the corner.
Yeah, my comments,
yeah,
Chris, are
but-
not at all critical. My
But I'll tell
comments
you,
are.
this new safety building is a great impact for the electric department because we can get all our equipment in where we need it, where we can work on it. People talk about, well, we mentioned the transformers, they're sitting outdoors. Well, they sit outdoors when they're operated, but it's like a car. If you got a car sitting in your backyard for a year and you don't move it, it's a problem. But if you're using it all the time, it's not a problem. Same thing with the transformers and everything else. It would be so good for the department to be able to move into the fire department space and have the trucks undercover, have the equipment undercover. It just absolutely makes sense. But I'm so proud of the fact that we generate, we transfer, and we distribute electricity to everybody. Your power goes out hardly never times, and our rates are extremely low.
I know.
Our guys choose not to be union. We pay them very well. So we don't have those kind of issues. Our guys are so good that the electric departments around the area calling us all the time to go help them out. We have a schedule where we replace the trucks and we keep the equipment up. Would we like a little more? Yeah, maybe. But it's important to us to keep the rates as reasonable as they can be. And it's important to us to keep the lights on. That's one of the 3 things that people ask and that I saw when I go out and kind of canvass what's going on and listen. People want to be safe, they want the lights on, and they want good tasting water. And, you know, we do all 3 of those things very, very, very well. So that was a great question, but Dwayne might be able to want to advance on it a little bit, but,
Okay.
but we're well taken care
I'll
of.
take it, thank you.
I would want to add just a couple of little comments there. It's greatly important for that department to keep some technical people on this board. If you don't, I don't know what could happen. But we try to keep up with the changes that are taking place, and renewable energy is a big game right now. And water, I believe, is renewable, and hopefully it will continue for a long, long time after me, I hope. And these guys pay attention. I especially pay attention to it because I was involved when we expanded the dams and that sort of thing about 30 years ago. So your point is well taken. We must keep an eye on what's taking place. And we read the literature, we go to meetings, I try to. Thanks for the question.
Protect the
It's
assets.
important for people to know, because this is a very, very tremendously important asset to us.
What they said.
Siobhan,
What they said.
Do you have a question? Do you have a question?
I didn't even raise my hand yet, because I think.
You did,
No, you
at
did
the same
earlier.
time Molly did.
So I was curious, I actually wrote this question down and then you halfway answered it, Lynn. Is there a percentage that employees of the village pay towards their own health insurance?
6%.
Yeah, it went from 4% to 6%, and in the next 2 years, it will jump to 8 and then 10.
You also said that employees of different departments work in the different departments. Because there's different budgets for each department, are they still paid their regular rate of pay
Yes.
when they're in these departments?
Right, so what we do, because we are one entity, so like Bill and I's salaries are split amongst each one of the departments. As with all the other admin, the guys' time, I shouldn't say all the guys, the other departments, their time is budgeted, and I look at where they've spent their time in the last year, so I know where to budget. But their timesheets each week is based on where they actually worked. So the actual dollars out the door are charged to the appropriate fund. But for budget, I have to look at, what have they been trending, so that I know where to basically stick it. But the admin people are flat, like 60% of my salary comes out of the electric department. But if you look at the budget, they're the largest part of the budget, that's where I spend most of my time, is with the electric department. None of my time is charged to the police department or the fire department. But I still do work for them, but the general fund pays a little bit of my salary. But it's one entity here, so they get like one paycheck, but it's in the back office, it's split amongst all the funds.
Thank you.
Any other questions on our budget presentation? No?
Carry on.
Okay, we're gonna move on then?
We're gonna move on.
Right.
Yes. Okay, we got a couple things to present to our longtime outgoing trustee. One will be from Neil, but I have to show everybody this. From 1997. Brian Savage in there too, but that's a much younger Chris Leach.
No, not at all.
So we found that while cleaning the upstairs, and we thought, what a nice little send-off. So I've been blessed, oh yeah, absolutely, let's put that right in there. Make sure you get Brian as well. So I've been blessed to only be here for 16 long months out of 28 years, but thank you very much for your thoughtful leadership during that time. It's been a pleasure.
And I'd like to, representing the village, I think I've been on the board not as long as Chris, but I've been working with him. He was on three years before I came on. And it's been a real pleasure to work with him. He's a team player that we all need, and he's diligent, and he is our specialist in the electric department. That's has been his baby, and he's just a team player, which we need. That's why we have I believe we have such a good operation here, because we listen to our team leaders, and we work together with them. And Chris has been an integral part to that, and I wish to thank him for all his years of service, and wish him well on his whatever ventures he's going to take on now. And we have a plaque to present to him, which reads, "The Swanton Village Board of Trustees, Management, and Employees, we would like to recognize Christopher D. Leach for his 28 years of service as a trustee and commissioner of the electric department. We appreciate your many years of service to the village of Swanton, as being a village trustee from 1996 to 2024. I think, like usual, Chris would like to say a few words. And, I've strategically positioned him on one side of me or the other for when he gets into a lengthy conversation, I can kick him under the table, and he gets the hint, but I'm not going to do that tonight.
That's right, and I wore my steel no-toe shoes. I'm going to get him back. I've had both my knees replaced here a few months ago, so if you don't mind, I'm going to sit down.
Okay.
It's okay to walk, but standing in one place doesn't work very well yet. First, I do want to thank you. The time has absolutely flown by. I guess they tell me it's 28 years. I was first asked to fill in a year for a trustee that was moving on, and then asked to run the following year. And you people, this is so humbling. You've elected me 9 times consecutively. I mean, that just humbles me like you wouldn't believe. And I thank you for that. My method operandi here is, I don't believe that you hire or elect us to do what we want to do. You elect us to do what you want us to do. So we keep our ears open, we listen, we read the papers, we see what's going on, and try to get a real feeling for what even the silent majority wants. And I've always done that. And that's why I think maybe you re-elected me so many times, and I dearly, dearly appreciate that. My engineering training taught me the scientific method, and a piece of the scientific method that I live by every day is that I test those things that I believe to be true and make sure they're true, and I test the things I believe to be false and make sure they're false. And I keep testing because things change. And that philosophy is the way we operate, and it's served me well in my job, and served me well as your village trustee. Now, I had the privilege to work with some really nice people over the years. I see in the picture here, I remember Leonard Dubois. What a character. Go flying with him and you scare the living hell out of him. But he was a great guy. And Brian Savage's picture here. Brian's the one that called me first and wanted me to step in. Brian was the trustee for years and years. Brian's financial background and his contacts in Montpelier serve the town perfectly. He's just the right guy. I see Susan Washburn out here. She served with me for a term or two. When I think of the people that we've gone to, Armin Messier served. Armin was my first, when I was a Boy Scout leader, he was my first Eagle Scout. And I was so proud to see him come on the board. You know, he's a great music teacher. He's got a wonderful family. I just worked with some really nice people. Our village managers, George Leglue. There's another character, but boy, he did a lot for the electric company. He really did. That was his focus. And Rich Bellow, he brought us into the 21st century. He brought focus on all the other departments. I mean, think about that. We have 3 not-for-profit businesses, one of which is approaching $8 million a year, the electric department. the water department, and the wastewater department. And then we have 3 services, the police department, the fire department, and the street department. All of them do a wonderful job. I love this town. When Ann and I were married 56 years ago now, when our first one was born and we wanted, it was time to buy a home, Swanton was the perfect choice. It's where we wanted to be. It's worked out well. We raised our children here. They've gone on to do well. This town is safe. It's fun to live here. There's wonderful people. My grandfather told me once, he lived, Cyrus Lee, he lived to be almost 102. He said to me, he said this to all his grandkids, 6 of us, "You are so lucky you were born in the United States," which is something a lot of us don't think about. But I was even luckier to be born in Vermont because of the way. So I really do take that to task. We had some crazy things happen over the years. We had an ice storm that really taught us a lot of our shortcomings in the electric department, which we all fixed. We had a flood due to an ice jam that showed us what our fire department can do. We had no injuries. People were rescued and brought home. It was just super. We had our dam up in Highgate spring a leak a little earlier than we wanted it to. And we got through that, and we got through COVID-19. This community is pretty resilient. And I thought about our biggest new project, the safety building. We have all these things that have happened to us over the years. It hasn't really affected the cost much because we got the right crew, they know what they're doing, we know how to go after money, we know how to borrow money, we know how to pay it back. So no matter if we're putting $1.5 million in a dam that we weren't quite ready to do, your electric rates didn't change. We did a big filter upgrade down at our water plant, and other pieces that we've done didn't really affect your water rate much. We're doing a wastewater piece. We got to get a new centrifuge. It's going to be a little bit of an upgrade, but not much. So when you look at what we might spend, is $14 million for the safety building. That's a top price, and it's going to pay dividends down the future. We're setting ourselves up for 50 years to come. This building was, when we did this, well, I wasn't on the board then, but I remember when the original fire department burned and we built this building, that it to last 50 years, and here we are. Well, this is setting us up for the next piece. We've always been looking ahead. We knew we needed to fix the water. We knew we needed to fix the wastewater. We understood what was coming down the road with the electrical department. This is just the next plausible step. We've always known we had a space problem, and the impetus to doing it was to having the opportunity to buy the land next door and to be able to use money that didn't come directly out of your pocket anyway. So it's the right time, it's the right plan. I can't tell you the hours and the thought that's gone into most the planning for it. It's not the Cadillac solution, and it's not the bottom of the perfect solution. It's the right solution to position us for the next few years. So I hope, like I said earlier, that everyone will not listen to the baloney that's out there. Think about your situation, think about your family, think about you want to live here for the next how many years, and vote accordingly. our track record for being able to handle big projects, to be able to pay for big projects, and for having the benefits that we proposed actually coming about and happening. Our track record is awesome. But anyway, I just want to close by saying thank you. It's kind of a, you know, everybody says it, but it was an honor to serve. Like I said, I absolutely love this village. It's so much, just to go for a walk in the park, go down and watch the river go by, it's just perfect, you know? And I'm lucky, my kids still are in Vermont, which is a win. One of them's in Swanton, one of them's in Colchester. My 4 grandkids are still around where I can get to them, so that's pretty nice. But I'm looking at 80, and I'm not the man I was even 3 years ago, so it is time for me to step down. But I'll do my part, do whatever I can. Again, thank you, and may God bless Swanton and all of us that live here. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and like Chris says, thanks for all of your support. And to move on here, we're going to have our public hearing for the public safety building. Bill's going to present briefly.
Public comment, number 9, public comment prior to that, to close out number 8. Do we have public comment yet on that?
Yeah?
We did? Okay.
Yeah, we did.
So we want public comment. Susie?
Can I ask a question? So last year, from the general fund, we moved $11,900 to, I believe it's the capital fund. And then out of the fire department, you moved $10,200, it was voted on, just to be clear.
Yeah.
It was voted to move about $10,200 to the capital fund. And from the police department, $61,200. So that's my rough estimate, that's like $83,000 that was moved to the capital fund. What is that money being earmarked for?
So that is the 61,000 out of the police department, basically went directly to another cruiser, that we purchased. The fire department money goes into a fund that they try to grow towards a new truck or large pieces of equipment.
Is that separate from the $50,000
Yes.
that's already?
Yep.
Okay.
And then in the general fund, it is for either work done in this building, like major stuff, not just painting like the, you know, that we've done, but if we did something major, and for at the park or the beach, if there's stuff. So like last year, we bought a new lawnmower to do the parks with, and so we took money out of that capital fund for that.
And can I just make a comment? I want to thank all of you for meeting with me and answering all the questions I have, but I really want to thank Chief for answering a lot of heavy questions I asked him around traffic and tickets and revenue, and he really dug that down and found me the answers, and I really just want to say thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Siobhan?
This is like the last of any board meeting before vote next week, correct?
Yeah.
I just wanna say, I've been very involved in this process, trying to learn and educate the people and spread information, proper, non-misinformation. And I don't think it's necessarily been pointed out enough that if this vote does not go through, it is not because the people of Swanton do not think that the employees are doing a good job. I think, it's been said many times that the chief, fire department, all the departments have really been doing a great job in their positions. So if this doesn't go through, I want people to understand from my perspective, what I've been hearing from the public, it's a matter of money. I understand that there's time and now more than ever, et cetera, so if and when it does get voted down, it's not because the need isn't there, it's a matter of people need to survive. And some can't afford, some are on fixed incomes, and some people don't want to have to move from their homes. And if a lot of this does go through, they will be forced to have to look at other options. Also, before we're all done, tomorrow, informational budget meeting for the Missisquoi Valley School District is tomorrow at MBU. So I just want to put that out there too for people. So if you're interested in knowing about that, go to the school, MBU school tomorrow, 7 p.m. Informational budget. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I might add to what Siobhan's saying. We did try to get out as much information as we could, because we did 30 some odd open houses, and we just want people to realize there is a need there, and I think they do. I think the majority of the community agrees that we need to do something. We had to start somewhere. This is where we started, and like the town board says, we're gonna listen to what the voters say next week and go from there. But what we're all assuming is we're gonna do what we can is best suited for the community, both boards, so.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Can you legally acknowledge, authorize that we're having a public hearing and announce that? Because that's the obligation for it being a bond item. So,
Just,
yeah, we're still in public comment, right?
So it's gonna go to.
Okay, all right, okay. But you're talking.
Neil, go.
You saying I screwed up? Is that?
No,
No.
I would never say that. I want to
No,
make
no,
sure that
no.
you say the words,
They
because
need
that's
the
the legal
support.
obligation.
Yeah.
read
Well, I'm not announcing that yet, I'm just commenting on what she said.
Okay.
We all set, Bill? So you want me to announce your next
Yes,
step?
please. That was the point of my interruption.
number 10, please.
Okay, now, Siobhan, now that I get myself out of trouble, we're gonna have our public hearing for the public safety facility bond vote next week. So this is a public hearing for the bond vote only. It's separate from our budget presentation before.
Correct.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is much appreciated. So as a reminder, we had 37 open houses starting December 7th and ending February 21st. I saw many, many of you at one or more of those. But this is, for the record, that final conversation before March 5th to ask any questions that you want specific to the public safety facility.
They already have their answers.
Okay?
I
I
think
just
we,
have one question. Because
yeah,
I've done this and I appreciate you guys for taking all that time with me. One of the updates with Richard Cowperthwaite, the one where it stated that you reduced it to the 14.8 mil, et cetera. And it was Eugene stated something like, in the future, we would look to put back on phase 2. Phase 2 is the renovation of this building. So, I mean, I just think as, in layman's terms as we speak, when you say reduction, you know, I think it needs to be made a little bit more clear that, you know, yes, we're reducing the ballot item, but what that meant is we're just taking off phase 1, or phase 2 for now, and we're sticking with phase 1. As was stated in that video, phase 2 would hopefully, when you find extra money, I think is what it was said, phase 2 would be phased in, which is why they're called phases, right? It would be another 5 million down the road when you look to renovate this building. Is that correct?
or more.
It
Or
depends.
more.
Right. It could be a lot more if you wait 10 years.
Well stated. We've reduced the ask for the bond amount to 14.8 to not to just do phase 1.
What if we say we don't want the bond?
Then it doesn't pass and we don't do it.
We change our mind.
And, correct me, I'm probably wrong, but if the community does not pass the bond vote, there is no chance of getting additional funding from any federal source for the building or the municipal bond, obviously, right?
That is correct.
You know, no project, no money, you're right.
And so that's also important.
Can we go Suzanne first, then Siobhan?
Can I add to that though, because it was kind of confusing? There's no chance to get any federal funding right now, but if you were to rework the proposal into something else, you then would go again for federal funding, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, we'd probably go for a bond and then go for federal funding.
Exactly.
That's what we have to.
Yeah, sadly, it doesn't work the other way around. It would be
That's
a great
correct.
world if you knew exactly what you were gonna get for a rate and for funding, but it doesn't work that way because it would bog down.
Well, the chief and I, when we walked through, it said that there was $1 million, is that right? There was $1 million for a grant towards the fire department? Sorry, fire chief.
I don't remember the number.
It's in my video. But anyway, I just wanted to clear because it almost sounded, the way she was asking, it almost sounded like never again will you get grant funding. But it just starts the process over.
Correct.
Yeah, it does. And like Molly was saying, that could change tomorrow. You could get rid of all the USDA funds, you could get rid of everything.
Well, they sure
We don't
can,
know
but
that.
will they?
And that could happen, the Congress is nuts right now.
Suzanne, did you have a question?
I had a comment. On the 14 million, as I understand it, this is worst case scenario because we have not gone after any other funding, any grant money, anything else. So correct me if I'm wrong in my understanding, but if you can do that, get more, there's, funding out there, grants and so on, it would reduce this $14 million price tag to something lower.
Correct. We're obligated to present our voters with the worst case scenario, which is 4.75 over 30 years. It'll be less than that. And we are aggressively pursuing many, many grant funding opportunities, none of which are guaranteed. It could absolutely be zero. It could be millions. It is likely to be somewhere in between.
I just wanted it to be clear that this is worst case.
So if we say no to the bond right now,
Yep.
it's done,
That ask, correct, that's right.
That's correct.
Yep.
right now.
Yes.
Not tonight, next Tuesday.
See, that's what I meant.
Not this moment.
So, Phil,
Sandy?
so, and what Molly's saying, does that translate into a bird in a hand is worth two in the bush?
Well, good question.
It's a fair question. It's an unknown, right? I mean, this is the first critical step. I respect the fact that the trustees had the courage to take it to the voters. The voters will have a say, and then we'll respond accordingly.
Yep.
This reminds me of when we went out to the public for a bond vote on our water. Water source was horrible, and there were 3 phases that were up for bond. And only one aspect of it, and that was not the treatment plant, but the water plant, was voted upon, but the other 2 were kicked to the curb, which ended up costing a lot more money than the money that we were asking the community for at that particular time. So I think that's kind of where you were going, bird in hand. And so if the longer this delays, the cost will, as you said, is likely to increase, and it could be double what we're looking at right now. So just saying, it's not always a good idea to lose.
Sean?
I want to thank Chris for all the work he's done all these years. I also want to thank all the board members for what they've done for the community. I don't see this passing at all. I think most of us probably are in agreement to that it probably will not pass. That said, I feel bad for the board members who've been really ridiculed and attacked by the public, especially on social media. You don't deserve that, first of all. You're here doing a lot of selfless service for all of us. We don't all have all the answers, not one single one of us, but as a group, maybe we can work it out together, which is why we have the ability to take a vote on this. And I know that long-term, in order to keep a good, viable police force, and I know multiple Burlington police officers, I work with them in the guards, who have nothing but good things to say about the chief. And that's why a few of the people came along with him. You don't follow people that aren't leaders, and that's why he brought officers with him down there. They came here to follow him. We follow people a lot of times, and so he has that ability to lead, and I think he'll do things for good down the road. They do need a better facility at some point, and this is probably not the time, but they do need a better facility to help keep our community safe, and they're doing a phenomenal job at that, from what I can see at this point. But I think maybe we get a chance to later go down and put our pen to the paper again and see what might go on in the future. It's probably not going to be now. But I want to thank all of you, and again, I want to apologize because there's a lot of the communities, members of the community that feel really bad for the attacks that everybody's taken here over the months, and we do appreciate all the work you have done. And I'd ask Chris, I guess, as a parting statement, with all these years on the board, is anybody that you're endorsing on your way out as a candidate? I mean, you've got a couple people there to fill your position. Have you got them endorsing?
Talk about putting you on the spot.
I don't endorse people, I don't do that, but I am available for whomever gets elected to, if they need have questions that need to be asked, or they need direction, or they want a tour or something, I can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Siobhan?
One last thing, I swear.
Yeah, right.
To follow up what Suzanne was saying, the 14.8 million, worst case scenario. However, that's at village resident, $1,037, which comes down a little bit for him because it's now at $1,200 something. If the Swanton town says no to the 10-hour contract, will that number change for the village residents?
So the 1,037 was the scenario if we all had level funded coverage. For a $250,000 house, the village right now is about $1,280, going up to over $1,500 because of the extra officers. If the town says no, we don't hire the full-time police officer, we don't hire the administrative assistant, and to ensure the viability of our police department short-term, we will go and seek out other community partners immediately and do contracts with them to ensure that we remain viable.
So if Swanton Town says no on the 10-hour contract, you're not gonna offer them another contract or negotiate, you're gonna go seek out.
Slow down, you didn't ask that, Siobhan.
Other communities. Well, that's what I was asking on what you were saying, is that what you said, like you would have to rework and work with other communities?
Our priority is we would love nothing more than to take the village off our back. And that the collaboration is gonna continue to happen between the village and the town, whatever that dialogue looks like.
Okay. I have to go, but I don't appreciate you whispering Jesus under your breath. It's not very adult. Thank you.
She's saying,
I didn't hear.
so what about me?
Anybody else have anything more to say? If not, any other necessary business, any other questions you want to ask tonight? Adam?
Yep, I got one thing, and I'm gonna put my Chamber of Commerce hat on
Oh, boy.
just for 2 minutes, 2, maybe 3. So last Friday, the Chamber of Commerce announced the winner of the Swanton Chamber of Commerce Citizen Business of the Year Award. And it'll be out, it's been public on Facebook and things like that, but we wanted to the Chamber recognized Marilyn Dunbar and Scampers this year as the winner of the Swanton Chamber Citizen Business of the Year Award for 23. She's done a crap ton of things, over the last 27 years, providing, reliable and affordable clothing and all other items. They've survived 3 economic downturns, 2 fires on Merchants Row, 1 on each end, and yet they're still there today. They've been very generous in donations when disaster strikes. They've given clothing to many folks in the area after disaster. They've supported various nonprofits such as Lori's House and Habitat for Humanity. They have worked with the local Native American tribes to get aid and resources deployed to people in need. Marilyn and Scampers have have employed many people over the last 27 years, and she's kept the jobs local. Not many people can say that. And, which I found interesting, she's one of approximately 9 local women-owned businesses right here in the village. On behalf of the Swanton Chamber of Commerce, we congratulate Marilyn Dunbar and Scampers on their award as Citizen Business of the Year for 23. Thank you for your time.
Okay, if there's no other questions that will have to be answered, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Well, no, I'm sorry, I take mine back.
Yep, my last one.
Yep.
Chris moves to adjourn
And I'll
the
second.
informational meeting. Adam second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Cody, the motion to, is there a second? And Joel seconded to adjourn the select board's informational meeting. All those in favor?
I apologize to me.
Okay, we're out of here.